Welcome to this week's REI Investor Talk. I'm Neil Peterson, and today we're diving into one of the biggest stories is South Africa's investment landscape. The 2025 Sunday Times top 100 companies were announced last week, in fact, week before last, and for the first time in years, 3 REITs ranked in the top 5 with Diapula Properties at number 1, Fairvest at number 2, and Vukile at number 5. And another top performer, Fortress, was also placed in the top 10. And this is really a major signal of a sector that is on the rise. So to unpack what this really means for investors heading into 2026, I'm joined by Joanne Solomon. She's the CEO of the SA REIT Association, the voice of South Africa's listed property industry. Joanne, great to have you on Investor Talk.
Thank you, Neil, and thanks for the invitation, and good afternoon to your viewers.
Yeah, wonderful, great. So, Joanne, let's just start with the basics. I mean, for our viewers who are not familiar with the SA REIT Association, maybe tell us who is the SA REIT Association, what do you represent, and what are your core objectives in strengthening and growing the REIT sector in South Africa?
So SA REITs is the umbrella body for the real estate investment trusts. And our core objective is to promote SA REITs as an investment attractive asset class globally and locally. So you asked, how do we do that? It's through a number of channels that we would focus on. One would be the investor relations, understanding their objectives and their needs. It's about research. We definitely need to engage with the regulators, the main ones being the JSE and National Treasury. We also drive transparency and in our reporting and consistency. So that would be, not to get technical, but our best practice recommendation, which has gone a long way for the investors to understand how REITs report. And then we advocate for sustainable ESG. All in all, what it means is we're there to keep this sector credible.
Excellent. Great. Thanks for that. So let's talk a little bit about the recent Sunday Times top 100 companies. I mean, the list was delivered really some powerful news. We've seen REITs didn't just perform well, they dominated the top rankings, as I mentioned in my introduction, where Diapula took first, Fairvest second, but Vukile fifth, and Fortress sixth. I mean, what does this tell us about the underlying strength and momentum in the listed property sector?
So one correlation that I make is investing in REITs is a long-term investment, not a short-term one. And that aligns very well with what the Sunday Times have done. They've taken performance metrics over 5 years. So it really does show that there's been consistency and discipline in achieving those. And as you say, having 19 or 20% of the results reflected through REITs is really significant. It talks about a broad-based sector shift and not one or two outstanding performers in the short term. So it really is significant for us and something to celebrate. I think what we've what the management teams have really focused on is disposing of their non-core assets and focusing on their core assets. They've also simplified their portfolios. Many times in the past, we were criticized for having complex structures. So they've simplified portfolios, and now they have stronger balance sheets. So all in all, it contributes to the strong performance that we saw in the Sunday Times top 100.
Excellent. So let's unpack a little bit what's driving this performance. I mean, Joanne, from your vantage point, what are the core fundamentals driving this turnaround? I mean, why is the market starting to reward REITs again? I mean, after it was actually quite a tough cycle.
Yeah. So they're different drivers, obviously. So if we look at the external fundamentals, one would be the broader economy as a whole. And one could argue that we are shifting. We've seen this come off the grey listing. There's been positive movement, probably not quick enough, but that is a significant factor for an external factor for REITs. And another one is the interest rate cycle. So we were hoping for it to start coming down a lot earlier, but we're seeing it now. And both of those directly impact on the property fundamentals. So what people are seeing from an investor perspective, they're seeing that the debt has improved, that vacancies are stable, predictable cash flow, which is key for investors. They're starting to trust what's going to come out of the system. They can see cleaner portfolios, which are easier to get your mind around. And all of these are resulting in stronger fundamentals for the sector as a whole.
Excellent. So let's talk more about investor confidence and market sentiment. I mean, do you believe the surge in performance indicates a deeper return of investor confidence? And how significant is this heading into 2026?
So my take out, if we go back to the Sunday Times and linking it to investor confidence, the investors reward consistency. And that came through very clearly in the Sunday Times top 100, because it's the return on your investment, which is what investors are looking for. I do feel that we're cautiously optimistic going into the next year. I do feel we'll continue to see the positive momentum, and it will be steady growth. What the investors are seeing is that it's driven through the delivery by the management teams. And they've had far clearer governance and clarity answers to their questions that they posed to us quite a few years ago. So 2026, I think we're going to continue to see good momentum, but it is going to be realistic. We're heading into a couple of local elections. We're not sure what's going to happen with the tariffs. They're all the external factors, but I think on the whole, we're optimistic about 2026.
Fantastic. So the South African REITs Association represents all corners of the listed property world. I mean, we're talking retail, office, industrial, logistics, residential. I mean, how are the fundamentals shifting across these subsectors? Who's leading, who's stabilizing, and who's still recovering?
Okay, so retail has definitely shown resilience through the cycles, and that's pleasing to see. The shape might be different from your nationals to regional, but it's a resilient sector. Industrial and logistics continue to be strong. It's in line with trends of, your online shopping or whatever it might be that drives at various factors, but that continues to be strong. Office is stabilizing, and it's very pleasing to see that it is moving in the right direction and quite rapidly in certain geographic areas. I do feel confident that the momentum will continue, even though it might take on a different shape. There might be refurbishes, retrofitting, but I do feel that we'll start seeing that figure improve. On the residential side, we don't have a lot of exposure on the resi side. So, I'm not really able to comment too strongly on that. But all in all, I think the alternate sectors that potentially are going to come are the interesting ones to watch. And when we talk about the conference, you'll hear Peter Verver will talk about, what is happening globally. But I think keep an eye on what he's going to say about different sectors.
Excellent. So we can't talk about the SA REIT Association without talking about the REIT chart book. Yes. So let's look at some key insights. So, I mean, you recently released the latest, I think it's a November one, October, sorry, which tracks critical listed property metrics. What are the data points that investors should be paying closest attention to right now?
Okay. So all in all, without going into the figures, October was the best performing month since April 2011. And for context to your viewers, Ian has been doing this chart book for us since inception in 2013. So he's got a depth and wealth of experience of what the trends look like. What we saw in October coming through is that the market cap is up, liquidity is up, even though in particular pockets, vacancies are easing, and the balance sheets are stronger, as I mentioned earlier. What is interesting to see is that the discount to NAV is narrowing, which is good news for us. But all in all, it's a broad-based recovery, as I mentioned earlier. It's not. It's just building momentum. The November chart book will come out probably next week. Mm-hmm. So let's hope we continue seeing good news.
Absolutely. So let's talk about the outlook. I know you mentioned the interest rates ease and all that kind of stuff. But, it looks like it's looking good for next year for more easement. But as you said, because of sort of, global, headwinds. But and as fundamentals improve, what does the 2026 outlook look like for you? I mean, where do you see the opportunities for investors, and what areas should they approach cautiously?
Right. So, we've spoken about the interest rate and cycle, and we need to bring it up here because that is a major driver. And it does ease the debt servicing on our members. What we haven't touched on is that it does also support valuation. So that's an important part of what our outlook and the fundamentals would be. What I do feel we'll be seeing in the market is growth in logistics and convenience retail. Repurposing that I alluded to earlier is definitely going to be a trend, and probably more in the office space than anywhere else. Storage and data is a big one to watch. I recently was at the EPRA conference in Sweden and went on one of their property tours, which was a storage company. It's phenomenal what's happening in Europe. So we can expect more of that here. Data centers will also look different. We haven't really had the positive impact of that yet, but I do feel we'll see that. As far as the risks are concerned, for me, they're more external risks that impact us. And one is the state of the municipalities and the stability of them, also knowing we're going into local elections next year. The infrastructure delivery is clearly implicates where we're going to actually have development or not. And then service delivery is a big one. The REITs have generally come through some of the issues on that side quite well, and it's forced them to consider alternate methods to services. But it is something that continues to erode what could be an income.
Okay, great. Thanks for that. So, Joanne, just before we wrap up, tell us about your upcoming SA REIT conference. It's taking place on Thursday, the 12th of February at the Hartson Hotel in Johannesburg. And see your sponsors, Nedbank Corporates and Investment Banking Property Finance. So what can the industry expect, and why should investors and professionals attend this year?
It is actually perfect timing considering everything that we've spoken about. There are two segments I think the investors should be particularly interested in. The one is the keynote speaker, who's Peter Vervo, is coming out from Australia. So he will be talking about global REITs and the trends, and particularly where South Africa fits into that picture. Of interest for Peter is that, with regards to Peter, he's one of the founder members of the Global REIT Alliance, which was launched in September this year. And South Africa was invited to become a member, which is really exciting for us. And that's along with 27 other countries. So it gives us access to a lot of benchmarking and research, which we didn't have before. Peter, what's also interesting with Peter is if you look at something he calls REIT 4.0, what are REITs potentially going to look like going forward? And he touches on quite a few issues, but he's absolutely passionate about the role in emerging markets that REITs can play. And that has to be of interest, I think, to our market as to how could we see it playing out and what is the opportunity for us as really the leader of REITs on the continent. So that will be interesting. The other one that I think investors will find very interesting is we've asked Keelan and Lorwood to come back and speak to the audience. So I'm calling it a then and now view. So Keelan presented in 2024, and it was a tough time to start giving honest truths to REITs. Like, what are the asset allocators worried about? Why they're not coming back into the sector? What are the opportunities and what are the barriers? He canvassed about 30 people, so it was a very comprehensive view, much more palatable because it was coming from an independent analyst, and I think he's got a very balanced view. This year he's going to do the same exercise, and I'm really hoping that we're going to see a very different picture emerging from what Keelan has to share.
Fantastic. So, Joanne, where do people reach out if they're interested in going and booking for the REIT conference for next year? Do they go to your website?
Yeah, they go to our website, but they need to do it quickly. I think we've got single-digit number of seats left.
Wow.
So
okay.
It's an awesome place to be. Our program is finalized. We're very close to being full, so I'd suggest any parties go there.
Excellent. Great. And that's just give the URL for that one. It's SA REIT.
It's sareit.co.za.
Perfect. 100%.
And then but it's going to be an exciting day.
Wonderful. Joanne, thank you for your insights. I mean, the REIT sector's resurgence is certainly one of the most important investment stories heading into 2026, and it's great to have the SA REIT Association guiding the narrative to our viewers. You can catch the latest REI articles, videos, webinars. You can just go to rei.co.za. Joanne, once again, thanks very much. And to our viewers, thanks for watching. We'll see you in the next episode. Thanks, Joanne.